I'd like to say that I should say a few words. I'm very fortunate to be here in this temple. Why am I fortunate to be here? Is it the chandeliers or the clock on the wall, or what is it? It's not the building, it's the people in it, beginning with Radha Gopinath, Gaunitai, Sri Gopal, and all the servitors headed by Srila Radhanath Maharaj, who have made this temple famous all over the world. Devotees are looking from all over the world are looking to see this is how we should practice bhakti. So please continue. Prabhupada always used to say that Krishna consciousness is very easy. What is the difficulty? One of Prabhupada's favorite sayings. But somehow or other we seem to invent many different kinds of difficulties. But actually Krishna consciousness is very simple and nice. So that's being demonstrated here by all your simple and nice devotees. So please maintain that. Maintenance is more difficult. Vishnu is in charge of maintenance. Creation is easier. Destruction is even easier. But maintenance, that requires the mode of goodness. So please maintain this standard for all generations to come. And in this way keep on inspiring the devotees on the path back to Godhead. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 18, text 66, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Sarvadharman parityajya Mamekam sharanam vraja Aham tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Translation: abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Want to read this?
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion. Knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Super Soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. In the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reaction, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the Supreme Savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto Him. The process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyati iti vishvaso goptrutve varanam tatha atmanikshepa karpanye shadvidha sharanagatihi. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order. But if, by executing his duty, one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis of progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in the mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be free from all sinful reactions. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision, some of them are attracted by the super soul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all, one who is attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics and devotees are all called transcendentalists, but one who is pure devotee is the best of all. The particular word used here, ma shuchaha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna, but such worry is useless.
This verse is well-known verse, at least among devotees or persons aspiring to be devotees. Although generally in India, if we ask someone if they know Bhagavad Gita, they'll say, oh yes, karmanye vadikaraste. They won't say sarvadhamam parityaja. You have a right to work, so I'm doing that, I'm following Bhagavad Gita. So this actually is the message of Bhagavad Gita, that you have a right to work is not really the message of Bhagavad Gita. It's stated in Bhagavad Gita, but it's not the message, it's not the all in all. This is the message of Bhagavad Gita, means the message of Bhagavan, speaking through Arjuna to all the conditioned souls. The message is not very difficult to understand. It's very clear. Krishna says, take shelter of me, I will protect you. The principle is very simple. Krishna is supremely powerful. He is infinite. And the jiva is, as Prabhupada used to pronounce it, infinitesimal or infinitesimal. But the jiva is related to Krishna. Mamaivangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. There is an eternal relationship between the jiva and Krishna, which is defined here, that the jiva is eternally to take shelter of Krishna, and Krishna will give shelter. So it's a very simple principle that answers all different questions. There are so many different philosophical questions which great thinkers, they dream up in their minds. The answer to all the different questions is summed up here by Krishna. Just take shelter of me, I will protect you. So it's a very simple principle to understand. But on the other hand, it's not easy to understand at all. Because elsewhere in Gita we see that Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mang prapadyate. Those who are jnanis, it means They have some knowledge, or they're trying to cultivate knowledge. But after many, many lifetimes, they may come to the point of thinking, oh, I should surrender to Krishna. That's what knowledge is all about. So it's easy to understand. There's nothing logically very difficult to understand about this. But on the other hand, it's difficult to understand because everyone in material existence is a fool. And a fool means he's not very logical. He's an idiot. So he's cultivating knowledge, but even though he's cultivating knowledge, somehow or other he misses the point. We can see this in modern scholastics also. Traditional Vedic scholastics, the great Gyanis are cultivating knowledge, and they're trying to understand about Brahman and Aham Brahmasmi, Brahmasmi Aham, and they get into so many different dialectic discussions. But somehow or other they just miss the point that actually we're supposed to surrender to Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Somehow or other means because covered by Maya. Maya means, what is Maya? Maya means the desire to avoid Krishna. So if we're trying to cultivate knowledge, and knowledge means to surrender to Krishna, then we're going to cultivate knowledge without having knowledge. It's contradiction. Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavang mang prapadyate. Who's actually jnanavan, he surrenders to me. But that means that in all his janmas, when he thought he was jnanavan, actually he wasn't jnanavan. Because if he was jnanavan, he would have immediately surrendered to Krishna. Means he had superficial knowledge only. So that we're seeing in modern scholastics also. We find many very intelligent people who have tremendous brain power, and they're making up all these incredible theories about the origins of the universe, and to even begin to enter into the understanding of their theories, you have to be a brilliant scientist with a brilliant mathematical understanding, and unless you're really extremely intelligent and well trained, you can't even begin to understand their theories. They're very intelligent, no doubt, but they miss the whole point that actually aham sarvasya prabhavo, everything comes from God. They don't even begin to think that, well, maybe someone made it all. They don't even begin to think, that example I gave, I think last time I was here, I give it in many places, that even to make this little thing here, actually it's a different one to last time, but it looks the same. Even to make this thing here requires so much intelligence and design and effort, and you could write a whole encyclopedia about Bhakti Vikas Swami's drinking water dabba. How it came into being. What it is, what it's composed of. So obviously it was made with a particular purpose. It was designed. It didn't come into being by a big explosion or a little explosion or millions of explosions, and you can do explosions and implosions and all kinds of things from now until the end of the world, and you still won't get this. Because it requires some intelligence and specific purpose to make, and it's a very simple thing. So how can we think that the whole universe just came out of an explosion? It's absolutely stupid. We are maybe impressed by the intelligence of the scientists, but it's even more impressive is how incredibly foolish they are. At the same time as being intelligent. They are intelligent, but at the same time they're just astronomically foolish, because they can't understand the simple point that even to make this little thing here requires intelligence, purpose, effort, consciousness. So the whole universe doesn't come into being by chance, but they don't even consider it. So why can't people understand that we have to surrender and take shelter of Krishna? Because the simple point, there's nothing intellectually difficult here. There's nothing, it doesn't require big brain power to understand. But it's a matter of attitude. And because most people, actually everyone in the material world is a rascal, that's why we're here. Because we have deliberately chosen not to surrender to Krishna. Therefore we can't understand. We cannot understand because we don't want to understand. And therefore, Krishna supplies us the intelligence by which we have faith in that which is not worth having faith in. Yo yo yang yang tanang bhakta shradhayachitam ichchati tasya chalang shradham tameva vidatamyaham. Krishna says in the matter of demigod worshippers, and it applies in any field of faith. Everyone has some kind of faith. Shraddha meo yang purusha. Every living being has some kind of faith. The faith of those who believe in demigods, how do they have such strong faith when it's not a fact, it's not true? But Krishna gives that faith, achala shraddha, immovable faith. I mean, they're very strongly convinced. So whatever it may be, someone is very strongly convinced that there is no God. Well, where do they get that strong conviction from? From God Himself. Where do they get the intelligence to dream up all their theories? They get it from God Himself. He supplies everything. Some people say, I don't believe in anything. Well, do you believe what you just said? It's a logical contradiction. Or you say, well, I just can't put my faith anywhere. Well, when you're eating, you put your faith there. You're eating something. You have faith that it's not poisoned. Or when you're walking on the street, you have faith that the earth will support you. So actually, if we explain Krishna consciousness very simply, logically, straightforward, as Prabhupada used to say, any gentleman will accept. But people are not gentlemen. They have a facade that of putting on a suit and tie and some perfume under their arms, and this makes them a gentleman. But they don't want to accept Krishna because Namang duskritino mudha prapadyante naradhamaha maya parita jnana asurang bhavimashitaha. Because they're rascals of different categories. So one can surrender to Krishna when he's free from all these contaminations. Vita raga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamashitaha. Who has taken shelter of Krishna? Here we have this word, sharanam. Ashrita, those who are taking shelter. Those whose consciousness is purified, being freed from attachment, fear and anger, becoming purified by knowledge and renunciation. Krishna says, many such persons have come to me. In one place in Gita, Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaya yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mang veti tatvataha. That hardly one person in thousands is thinking about self-realization, and of those who are thinking about self-realization, hardly one understands me. But again Krishna says, many have come to me, becoming purified by knowledge and renunciation, being freed from attachment, fear and anger. This is the condition of material life. So it is possible to become Krishna conscious, but generally people don't become Krishna conscious. Mostly people are dvipagda pashu. 2 legs, 2 hands. They're speaking like human beings. Yes sir, no sir. But not surrendered to Krishna. Their business is ahara nidra bhayamaitunam cha. Eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So most people, they have no interest in any spiritual life. Or most people who are born in human form, they're not born within Vedic culture. Actually, human culture begins with Varnashram culture. That is the beginning of regulated life, because within Varnashram culture there's regulation. You should do this, you should do that. And you'll find so many things that the smartas do, or they used to do. There used to be smartas who were not just by name smarta, but they actually used to follow smriti, which is why they're called smartas. You'll find many of the things they do that bhaktas also do. Bhaktas are also smartas, in as much as they follow smriti. But generally we use the term smarta to mean someone who thinks that, well, we'll follow the rules and regulations in the Vedas, and as a result we'll get elevated to higher planets and we can enjoy, and then later on we can become interested in mukti. Later. A lot later. But for the time being, we'll follow rules and regulations. So in the Varnashram system, the Vaishnavas and all different branches, Shaivas, Shaktas, Ganapatyas, Shauryas, so many different sects within the Varnashram culture, but they follow in many ways the same way of life. Everyone's supposed to rise early, take early morning bath, then the time before dawn should be spent in purificatory activities, in study of Shastra, Jap, Dhyan, Puja, all these different things. So Varnashram life, the Vaishnavas are doing, the Shaivas are doing, that is meant for purification. So actually human life begins with following Varnashram culture. But most people who are following Varnashram culture means they're following the Vedas, or Vedic injunctions. Smriti derived from the Vedic Shruti. But mostly they're doing what for some sense enjoyment. It means they have the same motive as the demons actually. But they're following all the rules and regulations thinking that, yes, we'll follow the Vedas and we'll enjoy life in a more civilized and cultured way, and we'll avoid hellish punishments. If we do something wrong, we'll do some prayaschita, some atonement, and in this way we'll balance our punya and our pap, and we'll do more punya, and then we'll enjoy more in future. So it's actually not a very elevated concept. Even following all the Vedic rules and regulations, if one is simply thinking that at the end I will enjoy sense gratification, then it's not a very elevated concept. So one who becomes more advanced by following the rules and regulations of Vedic culture, the very lifestyle of Vedic culture, rising early, taking early morning bath, chanting Vedic hymns, even if the Vedic hymns are in supplication of different demigods, still they are purifying to the consciousness in as much as they are Vedavakya. And even if one performs with a different kind of attitude that, let me get some sense gratification from doing this, still the general effect is that it elevates one, at least helps to bring one up to the mode of goodness. So the Vedic lifestyle is purifying, and if by following all these rules and regulations of cleanliness and purity, whenever you touch something unclean, then you perform achaman, and you make, especially those who are in the Brahmin caste, those who are performing puja, they're very punctilious to remain clean and pure. So in this way the consciousness may become somewhat cleansed. And when the consciousness becomes somewhat cleansed, then one can start to see that actually everything in this material world is miserable, which should be clear, because everyone is experiencing that at every moment. But because our consciousness is not clear, we don't see what is obvious. Pashyan api na pashyati. We see but we don't see. Everyone is seeing and experiencing suffering in so many different ways. But at the same time, we don't see. Prabhupada gave the example of smashan vairagya, that when a relative dies, you go to the smashan ghat, and the body is burned, and as always you sing, the body is burned, and you think, oh, that was my father, that was my grandfather. And then you think, oh, I'm also going to be there someday. So everything is temporary. What is the use of it? So you're thinking like this, all these elevated thoughts. And then you walk up, and then you're chatting to your relatives, or how are you doing? Well, actually my business is, and you forget, he burned. Anyway, we can enjoy now. So, smashan vairagya. For a short time, one is thinking, what is the use? I should be detached from all these things. But then again, now I have to go. Let's get on with life. Let's get on with the reality. Not thinking that reality, as we are conceiving of it, ends with that burning. So someone who becomes somewhat purified, then he may become interested in studying the Jnana-kanda section of the Vedas, which is quite different to the Karma-kanda section, in as much as it is concerned with Jnana or differentiation. Jnana begins with differentiation between spirit and matter. Even though in Karma-kanda one is superficially aware of the transmigration of the soul from body to body. Superficially aware means he knows that's what he's performing punya karma, but he's thinking that I will go to, in my next life I'll be in Swarga Loka. So he knows I'm not the body, but he's thinking I'll get another body. I'm not enjoying in this life, but I'm going to enjoy in the next life. So, do your austerities. Enjoy later on. So his knowledge is covered by Maya. But when one comes to Jnana-kanda section, then he becomes cognizant of the miseries of material life and no longer desires to enjoy in this world or in the heavenly planet, on this planet or in the heavenly planets, but becomes interested in Brahma Sokyam Tvanantam, unlimited spiritual bliss. However, still envy is there. What is the cause of our incarceration in this material world? Envy of Krishna. So even though one is thinking of getting free from material life, still he's envious of Krishna, which is a contradiction. Because the very cause of our material existence is envy of Krishna. But he's becoming interested in spiritual knowledge. So the Jnana-kanda, the Upanishads, they mostly start off with indirect descriptions of spiritual existence. Indirect means there's indication of the Supreme Lord, but except in a few more fortunate Upanishads, it's not very clearly stated. Not very clearly means it's clear enough. Just like we have Ishavasya idam sarvam. That's pretty clear, isn't it? The first Upanishad, first line, first word, is that everything is under the control of God. But it's not very clear to foolish rascals who are thinking, Ishvaraham, I am God, I am the controller. So, Ishavasya idam sarvam. Alright. Everything's under my control. It's not clear because their consciousness is unclear. So in the Upanishads, in most of the Upanishads, it's not as clearly delineated as in particularly Srimad Bhagavatam, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we have to surrender to Him. So in the Upanishads, actually everything is there. In all the Vedas, everything is there. Krishna is the Supreme Lord, we have to surrender to Him. But it's mostly not presented very directly, because mostly if it's presented directly, then people, they won't want to follow. They say, I'm doing all these austerities and following all these Vedic injunctions. What? To become a slave? I want to enjoy, and you're telling me I have to surrender to Krishna? No, we're not interested in these things. That's the general attitude of the conditioned soul. He doesn't want to surrender to Krishna. So the Veda Vakya, that's enticing him gradually, indirectly. Perform this. Do this vrata. You'll get this benefit. Perform this tapasya. You'll get some benefit. You'll enjoy life more in future. And people are thinking, that's very good. I'll do it. So it's an indirect way of bringing people in. That's why Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavang Mam Prapadyate. It takes them many lifetimes, because the consciousness is not purified enough to accept this simple instruction of Krishna. Sarvaguhyatamam bhuya shrinume paramang vachaha yatte hang priyamanaya vakshami hitakamyaya. I'm speaking this, Krishna says, for your benefit. But we can't understand it's for my benefit. You think, I have to become a slave? I have to surrender? How can that be for my benefit? He's cheating me. That's what they all say. It's like the advertisements. You buy this product, you will be benefited. You use this toothpaste, and all the girls will come running after you. It's cheating. It's not true. They're advertising it's for your benefit, but actually it's for the benefit of the toothpaste manufacturer who gets more money, and then the girls come chasing after him. That's what they go, not for toothpaste. They want to see what's in your pocket. If you've got close-up in your pocket, they're not interested. If you've got money in your pocket, they're interested. So it's cheating. Whenever in this world someone offers, this is for your benefit, we can immediately know it's cheating. That's why you see there are so many advertisements. We don't even bother looking. Because they say, oh, you will get this benefit. We don't even bother looking. We know they're just cheating us. We're not interested. We're too smart. We're too intelligent. So when Krishna says, surrender to me, it is for your benefit, we say, oh, I've heard that one before. You can't cheat me. So it actually takes very purified intelligence to understand that actually it really is for our benefit to surrender to Krishna. Because I've been trying to be the Ishvara and the Bhogi for so many lifetimes, but I'm not Ishvara, I'm not the controller, and I'm not Bhogi. I'm only in, what am I joy? I'm simply my karma phal Bhogi. Ishvaraham aham bhogi. I'm anishvaraham aham karma phal bhogi. That is our position. We're simply enjoying and suffering the results of our karmic activities. So after many, many, many lifetimes, or if one is very fortunate, immediately, one can surrender to Krishna. This is the topmost instruction. After one goes through all the karma kanda, jnana kanda, then one can finally come to this point of accepting Krishna, reading all the Upanishads, and here we have the essence of all the Upanishads. Krishna, the Guru, is speaking to Arjuna, the disciple, and he discusses so many things in Bhagavad Gita, and finally comes to the point that Arjuna, I spoke so many things, karmanye vadikaraste, but I told you that, and it's not that it's untrue, it's true, but it's not the topmost instruction. The topmost instruction is that you should simply surrender to me. That is for your benefit. So how much elevated this is. You see, there are so many rishis and munis and greatly elevated brahmanas, but they can't all understand this. Krishna spoke to Arjuna, grihastha, fighter, fighting man. Bhaktorsi me sakha cheti, rahasyam hiyataduttamam. I'm speaking this to you, Krishna says, because you are my devotee and my friend. Yesterday I heard someone has given the interpretation that Krishna spoke to Arjuna. Why? Because he's his Shala. Subhadra is Krishna's sister. So it's only meant for Arjuna, you see. He's some close relative by marriage. So that's for Arjuna, that's not for me. There are so many ways to avoid Krishna. I must admit, I didn't hear that one until yesterday. It's an interesting one. It means the person who spoke it knows something about Mahabharata and all these things, but still very expertly found some way to avoid. So this, how much elevated instruction. We see so many yogis, Durvasa Muni, such a powerful yogi, so many disciples. He's so powerful, he can travel all over the universe in 1 year. But he's not as powerful as Ambarish Maharaj became by surrendering to Krishna. Here, Krishna says, surrender to me. Now it's very interesting, he's telling Arjuna, you surrender to me and I will protect you. Mame kam sharanam vraja. You take shelter of me. But actually in this circumstance, Krishna is Partha Sarathi. He's the chariot driver. So in the relationship between the charioteer, the charioteer and the Rathi and the Sarathi, the passenger, and the chariot driver in a battle, then who is being driven? Or the fighter, why is he driving the chariot? So that the passenger can shoot arrows. He doesn't have to control. If you're controlling the horses, it's very difficult to fight at the same time, unless you have 4 arms. But most people don't, only Krishna. So you need a chariot driver. So who's driving the chariot, he can't fight. And there are so many arrows coming. So who's shooting the arrows? He has to shoot not only the arrows that are directed against him, but also the arrows that are directed against his driver. Because if your chariot driver gets an arrow in his heart, then you don't have a chariot driver anymore and it's more difficult to fight. So you have to protect him also. So actually the fighter on the chariot, he has to give shelter to the driver. So in this circumstance, Krishna is superficially taking shelter of Arjuna. That you have to now I'm going to be your chariot driver, you have to protect me, that's your job. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, you take shelter of me. Don't think that now you are protecting me, actually I am protecting you. And if you have any ability to protect me, it's only because I gave it to you. As Krishna showed Arjuna later when he got off the chariot, he said, Arjuna, just get off now after the battle. He said, why? Just stand back. Why? It's all right, just come. And then, phew, it all burned up. He said, what happened? He said, there were so many Agni Astras came, so many fire weapons came, I was just keeping them in check. So now it's time to let them off. Firework display. Diwali. So Krishna was protecting Arjuna. But Arjuna superficially is protecting Krishna. Actually, many people think that, well, Krishna, he showed the Vishvarupa. And this is the ultimate. You see, the many forms, so many different forms are all seen by Arjuna in one place. But Prabhupada describes in one of the purports that actually, when Arjuna saw this, not in one of his purports, in a letter, Prabhupada described that when Arjuna saw the Vishvarup, actually, in his bhakti, he came down. Because, what is he saying? That, hey Krishna, hey Yadava, hey Saketi, I used to say like this to you. Hey Krishna, hey Yadava, hey, you're a Yadava, I'm a Pandava, I'm better than you, we're a higher caste. Hey Saka, hey, oh my friend, hey, come and have a look at this Krishna. He was very intimate with Krishna. He was apologizing. Oh, I'm sorry, So Prabhupada commented that actually he came down in that time, he came, because he was seeing, oh, Krishna is very great, his bhakti actually reduced, because he's seeing, oh, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But when he was in the very intimate mood with Krishna, his bhakti was more. Because like this, Krishna has taken shelter of Arjuna. Arjuna is in the superior position. Who wants to become a chariot driver? You see, Karna, he used to be insulted. That Draupadi at the Swayamvar, she said that, yes, I'm very happy to see all the kings here today who have come to contest to get my hand. But, I'm not going to marry any son of a chariot driver. And Karna was standing there, Radha, son of Radha, means he was known as the son of a chariot driver, which is considered a Shudra caste. So, the daughter of a Kshatriya, Draupadi, said, I'm not gonna marry any chariot drivers. So it's considered a very low position. But Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna because bhaktosi me sakachit, because you're my friend, you're my devotee. So this also gives us some clue why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu superficially rejected this verse. You know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he met with Ramananda Rai, who was also superficially a Shudra, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and a Grihastha. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is superficially also a sannyasi, and Brahmana. Sannyasi means Brahmana. It's not that nowadays you see mlechas, they become sannyasis. But those days, sannyasi means he has to be Brahmana caste. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was listening to Ramananda Rai. What is sadhya, sadhana, tattva? What is the goal of life? That's one thing. And then how to attain it. So Ramananda Rai gave so many examples from Shastra. Vanashrama charavata purushena parapuma Vishnur aradyate panta nanya tatto shakaranam. This is Shastra. That one should follow the Varnashram system. There is no other way to satisfy Lord Vishnu but this, according to Vishnu Purana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Eho Bhajya. This is external. It's in Shastra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that's external. So Ramananda Rai said so many things, and he said, Sarvadhaman parityajama mekam sharanam vraja aham tvang sava papebhyo mokshayishamu mashucha. This is Krishna's topmost instruction in Bhagavad Gita. When you've been through Varnashram for many, many lifetimes, following the Jnana Kanda, you can finally come to realize we should surrender to Krishna. And Krishna himself says this is the topmost instruction. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, says this is external. It's difficult to understand. He came to teach what Krishna had taught. He's only Krishna, he's Krishna himself. But he said, this is external. Eho bhajya. Aage kaho. There must be something more than this. Like this. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that, you see, if the father has to say to the son, you do what I say, it means, actually the son is not on a very high level. If he has to tell him, you do what I say, you should just do what I say. A father shouldn't, when he's 5 years old or 6 years old, then you can tell him. But when he's older and experienced, you shouldn't have to tell him. Oh, you should just do what your father says. Of course, nowadays we don't always recommend. Because if your father says, why did you stop to eat meat? Then we don't recommend to follow such a father. But the general direction is that the son should follow his father. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that if the father has to tell the son, you do what I say, it means actually it's not a very advanced level. There's more. Now here we see Krishna is saying, take shelter of me and you will be benefited. But actually, this isn't on the platform of love. If you have to offer you will be benefited, then that's not love. What is love? Ashlishyava padritang pinashtumam adarshanam mamahatam karotu va yata tatava veditatu lampato maprananatas evanapa. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's last instruction. Here we have Krishna's instruction to the conditioned souls. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's last instruction to the pure devotees is to accept Krishna even if you find out that he's also a cheater, lumpert. Can't trust him. He says, I will give you shelter. Surrender to me, I will deliver you. It's true. Krishna will deliver us from material life and take us into spiritual life, which is Satchit Anandamai, full of eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. But what is that Satchit Anandamaya Avastha? That is on the condition of surrender to Krishna. So it's a trick actually. Krishna is saying, surrender to me, I will protect you. But if we surrender, that means we have to do whatever the Master says. So if the Master says, cut your throat, if you're surrendered, you have to do it. I'll tell you another story of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, as you were asking. That they were driving up to Darjeeling, up the mountain paths. So they stopped along the way, and one of the disciples, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, asked that, if I ask you to jump, will you jump? And it's off the mountain. Said, yes. And why? That's not very intelligent. If you jump, you'll break your head. Who's going to jump off the side of a mountain? He said, well, if you order me, you'll save me also. Prahlad Maharaj, surrendered soul. You won't follow your father Hiranyakashipu. We're going to push you off the edge of the mountain. Hare Krishna. He surrendered to Krishna. He doesn't know Krishna is going to save him. But anyway, if Krishna wants, then whatever. This is surrender. So surrender means that we're prepared to do anything. That is the platform of love. Adarshanam mamahatam, even if he kills me by not showing me. Even if I'm unhappy, let me do whatever is required for Krishna to be happy. That is happiness. And what is the happiness of spiritual life? Means simply to do what Krishna wants, even we may be unhappy. Actually, we won't be unhappy. What is the secret to, we want the ecstasy and the bliss of Krishna consciousness. How can we get that? Then we should try to do something, we should take all difficulties in Krishna's service. Generally in material life, we're always looking for some comfortable situation. So when we come to Krishna consciousness, we may think, I'll just arrange, I'll work for some time, I'll put the money in the bank, and then I'll just live very peacefully and quietly and chant Hare Krishna, and there'll be no problems. We'll make some arrangement where we can live very comfortably and chant Hare Krishna. Alright, that's good, that's nice. That's much better than being a gross materialist. But even better than that is to think that, no, I'll just do whatever is required to preach Krishna consciousness, or whatever is required to serve Krishna, even if I have to take so many headaches, and even if, whatever, you see, my health may be spoiled, just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He's always talking about Krishna, and doctors advised, you're getting sick, you should stop speaking, you have to rest. And he said, well, it's better to be sick and speak about Krishna than to be healthy and not speak about Krishna. People used to ask him, well, how are you? He said, I'm fine, but only these stupid people come and tell me to stop talking about Krishna. That's the only problem. So this is a secret. If we take all difficulties to serve Krishna, then our health may break down, we may lose all our money, and immediately everyone's going to walk out. I don't want to hear this. There are so many sadhus who are speaking the art of living, how you can live very peacefully and have a balanced mentality and how you can live a very happy life even though there's nothing in life to be happy about, but we'll teach you some kind of self-hypnosis or something by which you can think everything is wonderful, when it's not. So people like these kind of swamis that they'll teach us how we can live very peacefully and we'll be happy and we also say that, chant Hare Krishna and be happy, but you don't know. Krishna is a very tricky person. So, in the beginning we say, yes, there's no problems in Krishna consciousness. Actually there are not. But there may be, superficially. It means that it may be to become Krishna conscious. It may be or it may not be. It's different in different circumstances. But it may be that to be Krishna conscious we have to sacrifice so many things, which is actually not sacrificing. But we have because we are attached, we have so many material attachments, we think that now I have to sacrifice this and I have to sacrifice that. We don't understand that actually nothing belongs to me anyway. But there may be so many difficulties we have to undertake. But that is required to surrender to Krishna. To surrender to Krishna, we have to give up all material attachments. We don't give up anything material because we don't have anything material, but we have attachments. Attachment means we have the sense of thinking that this thing belongs to me. So actually we have nothing to give up except the false concept of thinking that I have something to give up. But actually we don't have anything anyway. So that is how to take shelter of Krishna. Really to take shelter of Krishna, if we're thinking what benefit I will get from it, then we can never properly take shelter. Because really taking shelter of Krishna means to give shelter to Krishna. That means that Krishna, just like with Arjuna, he actually wants to take the position of being sheltered by his devotee. Krishna is looking for that intimate relationship with his devotee. Krishna is giving shelter to his devotees, but we see what is considered the higher rasas, the 5 rasas, the Shanta rasa, it's hardly any rasa at all. It's just appreciating Krishna. Then Dasya ras, one is serving Krishna, appreciating Krishna is greater than me. Then Sakhya ras, one may be a friend of Krishna, but at the same time thinking, oh, Krishna is God, he's also my friend. So it's mixed up with some sense of awe and reverence. But then, when one becomes the higher stage of Sakhya, is to be on the same, just thinking, Krishna, he's just my friend. He's the same as me, or maybe a little less. See, Krishna's pretty strong, but I think I'm stronger than him. When we wrestle, sometimes I win and sometimes he wins, but I think I win more times than he. Krishna's holding the Govardhan hill, yeah. See, you're taking so much trouble, Krishna. Why don't you just let us do it? You see, some other one, we love you, Krishna, we don't want you to take so much trouble. You're already holding it so many days. Why don't you let Subal or Sudam or anyone else can do? I think you see, if Krishna can do, we can also do. They're thinking like that. So, Vatsalya ras. It's not that Mother Yashoda, she's bowing down and offering obeisances to Krishna. She's chasing him with a stick. And Krishna is running for shelter, but there is no shelter. He has to be punished. Who can punish Krishna? Krishna likes that more than the servants. And what to speak of in the Shringara ras, where Krishna likes that the lovers of Krishna, they may reject Krishna, that Krishna, he wants to meet Radharani, but she's refusing. I've had enough of that rascal. I spoiled enough of my life. Take him away. Don't let him come anywhere near me. So that is the position of love. Love means that there's no, when there's very intimate love, then he's not thinking what benefit I get from the other. He's simply thinking how I can benefit the other. So here Krishna says, take shelter of me. You will be benefited. This is the topmost instruction for the conditioned soul, who has this perverted consciousness that everything should be for my benefit. Egocentricity. Everything revolves around me. But the question of love begins when we stop thinking that what benefit can I get from Krishna? When we think, how can I do something which is pleasing to Krishna? That is Krishna's message. How can we please Krishna? There are so many great devotees who are pleasing Krishna. And what can we do to please Krishna? What can I do? There's already gopis and Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj and Devaki and Vasudeva and Uddhava and so many. What can I do? But Krishna says that Patrang pushpang phalang tayang yome bhakta prayachati tadahang bhakti uparitam ashnami prayatatmana. Krishna says, if you offer me with love and devotion a leaf of flower, of fruit or water even, I will accept it. Krishna promises, I will accept it. Mother Yashoda is offering me so many things. Devaki Mata is offering me so many things. Radharani is offering me so many things. But if you offer something, I'll accept it also. So this is actually what Krishna wants to teach. But he taught that specifically as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very difficult to understand. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what he's come to give is very difficult to understand. It's so simple. Chant Hare Krishna. Be happy. Surrender to Krishna. It's very simple. There's nothing difficult. Prabhupada used to say, what is the difficulty? There's no difficulty. It's very easy to understand. It's very simple to chant Hare Krishna. Anyone can chant Hare Krishna. You don't have to go to the forest or go to the jungle. You just open your mouth, wherever you may be. Chant the holy names of Krishna. But what is the import of this? It's so exalted. Someone was asking the other day that, well, we can chant Hare Krishna or we can chant the Vallabh Sampradaya. What is that? Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. So they're both the same, they're both nice. Not exactly the same. Chanting Hare Krishna is actually can be on a more elevated platform. We're asking, or we're saying to Krishna, you are my shelter. But when we're chanting Hare Krishna, what are we doing? We're asking Krishna, please engage me in your service. So that's actually a higher platform than thinking, I'm in the shelter of Krishna. Krishna should serve me. He should shelter me. He should give me shelter. Actually, Prabhupada, he used to say, what is the meaning of this Mahamantra? That, oh Radha, oh Krishna, oh energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. But if we examine linguistically, what does it say? It's only calling out, Radhe, Radhe, Krishna, Krishna. The Nimbaka Sampradaya, they also made some mantra like that. It's simply calling out to Krishna. There's no word there, give me service. If you examine the Sanskrit language, there's no such word, give me service. Is there? There's no such thing. We don't find the word seva there. So why did Prabhupada say that the Mahamantra is calling out to Krishna, give me service, please engage me in your service? Because that's what it means. If we call out to Krishna, mostly people are calling out, oh Krishna, solve all my problems. Oh Krishna, you're supremely powerful, I've got so many problems, I don't know what to do. You're God, you sort it out. You said in Bhagavad Gita, you'll give me shelter, give me shelter. But on the platform of love, one is only thinking, how can I serve Krishna? So actually, if we're chanting Hare Krishna, if we're really calling out to Radha and Krishna in the way that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us to call out to Radha and Krishna, if we're actually calling out to Radha and Krishna in our constitutional position as the jiva, as the servant of Krishna, then when we're calling out Hare Krishna, that means, oh Krishna, oh energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. That is love. Not please engage me in your service, and by the way, I'm doing some service, but you have to give me some payment also. Otherwise we're going on strike. There are no strikes in Golok Vrindavan. Even when Radharani says, don't bring Krishna to me, that's only superficial. That's just to put, actually then everyone else who's not on strike, they have to do overtime. So that's giving everyone else more of a chance to serve Krishna and Radha. So this is the platform of love, where one is simply thinking how to serve Krishna more and more and more, without anything else, without wanting anything you may want. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that you give me some beta, that's Bengali word, means payment, salary. What is that? Premdhan. We only want love of Krishna. Please give me the treasure of love. And what is that love? Love means seva. Love means service. So calling out Hare Krishna is a prayer for service, for love. But even if we're chanting Hare Krishna, we're not actually chanting Hare Krishna unless we chant without offenses. Otherwise we don't get premdhan. Tabutanapai Krishna pade premdhan. We won't get love of Krishna if we're chanting with offenses. If we're chanting with offenses, that means we're blaspheming the devotees, or we don't have faith in Shastra, or we think the demigods are as good as Krishna. There are so many different offenses. That means when we're in contaminated consciousness, we're not actually calling out, we're speaking the words Hare Krishna, but we're not actually asking for seva. That's what is the meaning of aparad. It means that which is opposite to aradhana. So in aradhana, real aradhana means not that we're doing Jai Jagadisha Hare, give me this, give me that. But real aradhana means that's why Radharani's name comes, who is doing the best aradhana. She's only thinking how to serve Krishna without any personal desire. So aparad, what is aparad? That means it's listed in 10 categories. But the root cause is that we're not thinking how I can please Krishna, how I can serve Krishna. We may be chanting Hare Krishna, but we're thinking what will I get from this? What will be my benefit? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he teaches, you can take shelter, that's alright. That's a beginning stage. But as far as I'm concerned, I already took sannyas. Now I'm going beyond varnashram. Now we've given up all desires for any material benefit. So don't tell me that you surrender to Krishna and you'll get the benefit. I don't want any benefit. I have only one aspiration left as a sannyasi, Tridandi sannyasi, that I will engage in the service of Mukunda. That's my only aspiration. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he heard Ramananda Rai say that Savadhaman Purityaja Mamekam Sharanamja Eho Bhajya, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's point of view, that is external. We want already shelter in Krishna. We want this already. You're telling me to take shelter of Krishna and I'll get this benefit, but already I want to take shelter of Krishna without any benefit. So why do you want to take me down to the lower platform? So actually this is the highest platform. Take shelter of Krishna. Surrender to Krishna. Go to Krishna. That is the highest platform that we can conceive of. But then when we come to the inconceivable platform, then the devotee thinks simply how to serve Krishna. And Krishna takes the position of being sheltered by the infinitesimal jiva. That is achintya. That is inconceivable. No one can explain. This is beyond logic. What Krishna here is saying is very logical. I am supreme. I already explained in Bhagavad Gita. You are a tiny little jiva, Arjuna. So you should take shelter of me and I will protect you. You have no power, I have all power. You should surrender to me, I will protect you. Very logical. But the platform of love is beyond logic. Where simply the devotee, he doesn't care if Krishna is God or not. You see the residents of Vrindavan. Krishna showed them so many times He's the Supreme Lord. Sometimes they used to discuss among themselves, oh, maybe He's God. Maybe He is. Anyway, look, it's time for Him, He's coming home now. Let's get ready. He's coming home, we have to receive Him and make sure His bath water is ready and you have to feed Him and He's God. Oh yeah, okay, right. Wonderful. He's God, not interested. He may be God, but anyway, He's our son. He's our child. So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach. It's so elevated that even many great Vaishnavas can't understand this. This verse we're reading today, Charam Shlok, in the Sri Sampradaya. They won't say this verse publicly because Krishna says in the next verse, Idam te na tapaskaya, na bhaktaya kadachana, na cha shushu shabeva chang, na cha me, na cha mang yo betuyati. Krishna says, this confidential knowledge should not be explained to anyone who is not my devotee, who is not following regulative principles, who is not austere. So they say, oh, we shouldn't tell it. You see, if you listen to ISKCON devotees giving lectures, they'll say, Sarvadhaman Parityaja. In Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, they won't say. That should only be told to the devotees, not to everybody. It's highly confidential. Only when you're initiated and then you become more advanced, then they'll whisper in your ear. This is the topmost instruction. We're telling everywhere, surrender to Krishna. This is Krishna's instruction. This is the topmost instruction. Read Bhagavad Gita as it is. Get this topmost instruction. And then when you've read that, accepted that, then read Srimad Bhagavatam. And what will you understand from Srimad Bhagavatam? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. You'll read the whole Bhagavatam dozens of times. You may start to begin to understand something. But we can properly understand if we read the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to reveal that which is in every syllable of the Vedic literatures. That we should love Krishna. But an ordinary person can't find it. Who can see ghee in milk? Only someone who knows how to take it out. It's there. But you can't find it. You may take milk, that's very nourishing. But you can't fry puris in it. You need ghee. So that Bhagavatam, that is Saravete Itihasanam, Saram Saram Hiudahritam. That is the extracted essence of all the Vedic literature. But even to understand its value, that you have to have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Otherwise, you see, nowadays they say safflower oil is better. Or there are some people, they don't even like ghee. If you go to, Prabhupada was explaining in Burma, they like, actually I was in Burma, they were telling me the best ghee and milk products I tasted anywhere. Beautiful, hilly area with lots of rain and the cows are free grazing, so many jungle grasses. That milk and ghee is so nice. Indian people settled there, they're making that. But they say if we take it in the bazaar and sell it, the Burmese people will say, take it away, it stinks. They don't like it. Their favorite food, I won't say. It's not so that we shouldn't say in front of the deities. It's really ghastly. I can tell you afterwards if you like. They have a different taste. That example, if you give halava to the pig, he's not interested. But if you eat it, then next day he'll be interested. He has a different value system. So like that, the people, if we tell them, love Krishna, what will I get from that? Well, if we say openly, I don't know if we should say even here. So many people may run away. You may get, just like the gopis, they're saying that. Now if you love Krishna, then what can you expect? You'll get simply a life full of trouble. You give everything to Krishna, you renounce everything for Krishna, and then one fine day, without any warning, Krishna just renounces us. Says, bye-bye. I'm coming back soon. And he never came. So if we tell people, oh, we're not interested. Swamiji, please, someone came to me the other day, what should I do? What should I do? I have some bad thing in my chart. No one will marry me. What should I said, I don't know, I can't help you. I didn't get married myself. I'm also a failure in that department. So I said, you can come and join me if you like. You're lucky. Krishna saved you. But he wasn't interested. He wasn't interested. So if we tell people that you chant Hare Krishna and then all your material attachments will go away and you'll have no more material life and all that. We tell people, you see, you can chant Hare Krishna and have a happy life at home. You think, all right, well maybe. No, I don't want to give up my sense gratification. So we tell people, actually, you see, you're going to live happily at home and all this. It's all nonsense. What live happily at home? No one lives happily at home. You have to die anyway. But we tell people all these things. Yes, you don't have to give up anything and you just chant Hare Krishna and you can have a happy material life. There's no guarantee that if you chant Hare Krishna, you'll have a happy material life. There is a guarantee, whether you chant Hare Krishna or not, you won't have a happy material life. That is guaranteed. Because there's no such thing. It's simply a bluff. Even if you do have a happy material life, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, we tell people, you see, there's this man, he's a businessman, he has a nice family, and he's chanting Hare Krishna. If you say, I can be like that, yeah. But he himself who's chanting Hare Krishna, he understands that all this so-called happy material life is all nonsense, because he's chanting Hare Krishna. He understood. So most people, you see, it's very difficult for them to understand what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given. Such a high concept. Beyond surrender, love beyond surrender. But if we can get that, if we can, by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, get even a tiny, tiny drop of the Anandam Buddhi Vard, the Anandam Buddhi, which is ever Bhadiyati, the ocean of transcendental bliss is ever expanded. But if we can get even one drop of that, one drop is enough to drown the whole world in bliss. We don't want very much. Devotee doesn't want very much. He's not asking for crores of rupees. Just, even if there's a drop, and if we take a drop of a drop, and if we take that drop of a drop, we take even the tiniest amount of mercy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has to give. That's what we want. We don't want anything else. Because that is sufficient to completely drown us in pools of ecstasy. That is for our actual benefit. Krishna is offering, you will be benefited. Surrender to me, get benefit. Those who are more intelligent, they think, there's more, ehobhadya. Aage kaha. There's more than this. There's more to say than this. There's more to get. What is that? Beyond surrendering means you have to surrender to whatever the Master says. It's not very easy. It means giving up one's freedom superficially. So it's a very great thing to do, to surrender. But there is more. More than simply surrendering to Krishna. There is fully giving oneself to Krishna without any expectation of anything in return. And in return, what do you get? If you give yourself fully to Krishna without any expectation of return, then Krishna in reciprocation, he has to give something. You can't serve. Krishna is not such an ingrate. If we serve him, definitely he'll give us something. Any good person, if you serve them, if you do something for them, they'll return a favor. So if we do something for Krishna, Krishna will do something for us. But if we don't want, I don't want money, I don't want followers, I don't want beautiful women, I don't want any material facility, then take liberation, I don't want that also, then Krishna is defeated. Then there's only one thing left to give, which is Krishna himself. He has to give himself to the devotee. That Bali Maharaj, he showed that. That Vamandev said, you said you were going to give me 3 steps of land, you couldn't give it, you're a cheater, you said you want to give me charity, you were trying to talk me out of giving 3 steps, saying I should take more, but you can't even give 3 steps. You wretch. So then Bali Maharaj very intelligently said, well, I can give myself. You can put your foot on my head, put it over my head. He gave himself. And then Vamandev, what could he do? He has to reciprocate. So he became the watchman of Bali Maharaj. Who's going to become a watchman? You see, you're sending your children to school and they have to study, so much pressure. For what? So they become a watchman? No, my daughter should become an astronaut. Or my daughter should become the head of the Indian Armed Forces, not your son, because it should be the daughter. The daughter should be fighting in Kashmir, or that's the modern idea, right? Women should be admirals and airline pilots and all this kind of thing. So, but you don't want to make them a watchman. But Krishna, he became a watchman. What can he do? He has to do something for Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj gave himself, so he reciprocates like that. So devotees should be very intelligent. Don't settle for less. Be ambitious. You want your son to be or daughter to be the President of America or something like that. President of America, why should I waste my time with such a petty position? Just like the devotees, they were coming to Prabhupada and saying that, we have to make this diorama of the whole universe, you told us, according to the description in the 5th canto, but it doesn't fit with the description, what the modern scientists say. We can't understand, you see. We can fly from India, from Los Angeles to India going over the Pacific Ocean. It doesn't, but according to the description in the Bhagavatam, we shouldn't be able to do that. So how to understand it? Prabhupada said it's inconceivable. What do the scientists know? They don't know anything. Why are you so proud of your education? Okay, and then they came back a few days later and said, Prabhupada, we still can't understand it. Prabhupada said, why are you worrying over such a small thing, the little puddle, the Pacific Ocean? Why are you concerned with a little drop of water? That's Prabhupada's vision, because that's Krishna's vision. So that is the devotee's position. You want to be President of America? Come on, why are you don't waste my time talking these things. Now we have a great deal for you. You know, you can invest money here and you'll make double. Or giving you a good job opportunity, you can start off as a works manager. What is all this? I have a bigger ambition. What is that? I want to become a grain of dust at the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. Uddhava's ambition. His ambition, he's very famous person, high disciple of Brihaspati, famous as the friend, the minister of the king of Dwarka, very high Kshatriya, very noble family. But he thought that, you know, in my next life, I want to have a better position. I want to become a blade of grass. That's my aspiration. I want to become a blade of grass in Vrindavan. So that when the gopis, they're walking, I will get the dust of their feet on my head. That is the ambition of a devotee. So that's, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught this. So this is actually a long, long way beyond this. Ma Shucha, don't worry. Krishna is saying, don't worry. He's reassuring, don't worry. I will protect you. And devotee is thinking, worry, not worry. My only worry is, how can I serve you, Krishna? Not, what benefit will I get? So this is the platform of love of Krishna. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to teach love beyond surrender. We're trying to surrender. We're struggling with our rascal minds and trying to follow some rules and regulations of bhakti so that we can gradually get it into our stupid heads that we're supposed to surrender to Krishna. But we should know that beyond surrender, there's more. That is practically just the beginning. When we surrender to Krishna, then we can begin to think how we can love Krishna. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful that from the very beginning, he's teaching Prema Kumarto Maha. We should endeavor for love of Krishna. So, Hare Krishna. Sorry, it's a little late. Should I take some questions or not? Okay, questions? Any questions?
Maharaj, we know that you come from England and you're preaching about the Indian culture, bhakti, and the Indian sources where we don't have so much faith in this process. So
you say Indians have faith?
The Indians don't have so much faith. Nowadays they're being more enamored by the Western culture.
Oh yeah.
And you coming from England and you have so much of faith in Prabhupada, in bhakti, and you're practicing Krishna consciousness for so many years. So my question was, what is the reason for this, that Indians are lacking faith nowadays? And secondly, how can we treat this message of Vedic culture, of Krishna consciousness more vigorously?
Why are people losing faith? Why has India degraded so much? Well, I also gave so many reasons, quoting Prabhupada. In that book I made, that Message to the Youth of India. We didn't bring any of that, huh? There are different reasons Prabhupada is given. The effect of Kali Yuga, that's one of them. Because of Mayavadis misexplaining Bhagavad Gita, that's another reason. Because of rascal leaders. But then in another place Prabhupada said you can't blame the government because you voted them. Here we are. Causes of India's downfall. The influence of Kali Yuga, imitating the West, misleadership. Don't blame the government, Prabhupada said. You are the rascal. Then Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness should have been made the state religion. Prabhupada said in 1947, they should have made Krishna consciousness the state religion. That's another reason. They didn't. Because they're rejecting spiritual culture. They're rejecting their own culture. Then misinterpretation and malinterpretation of scripture. Not accepting Krishna's supremacy and authority. That is the cause of all the problems in the material world, of which Indians giving up their culture at the present time is one facet of only. let me teach you something about Indian culture. Don't put your hand in your mouth. You should go and wash it immediately. Only put your hand in your mouth when you're brushing it or eating, that's all. That's the only time. Or if you're a dentist. Impersonalism. The British influence. We find that the educated Indian, they are more British than the British, or actually nowadays more American. Then government policy. The government policy is actually to suppress this culture. And even though the present government is the BJP, they have some kind of idea to try and make Indian culture come in, but there's so much opposition. They rewrite the textbooks and then the Congress comes back and puts them back again. But then even the BJP, they made this 30% representation for women in the parliament, which is completely against Vedic culture. Sorry ladies, but it's true. Actually, democracy itself is completely bogus. That's not Indian culture. There should be one Raja. You get rid of all these politicians. You need one Raja, that's all. One person who knows how to rule. Caste consciousness, another reason. Someone is thinking, I am a Brahmin. I am better. He has no Brahminical qualities. Partition, that's another reason. Prabhupada cites one of the reasons for India's downfall. I mean, economically, and another reason that the Pakistan is just, it's always an enemy. That's the only reason for them to exist. Why should it be a different? They have the same language, basically the same culture. And there are so many Muslims in India, so you can't say it's just for the sake of being Islamic. Islam is tolerated in India. I mean, it's not that Muslims are persecuted. Rather, you get more rights being a Muslim. You're a higher class citizen than a Hindu. So there's no reason for Pakistan to exist. The only reason is because they hate India, that's all. Dushman. That's what I was in Pakistan some years ago. I saw the newspaper, how they refer to India. The only thing in the newspaper is politics, as in India mostly. Now they introduce sports also. And sex. Otherwise all the news is politics, Kashmir, and they don't refer to India. How do they call India? Do they say India or do they say Bharat? They don't say that, they say Dushman. In the newspaper, even in the English newspaper, they refer to the enemy. So it's not very conducive to peaceful life. Of course, in India, everyone just tolerates everything. 58 people were attacked and burned to death, and one American was murdered in Pakistan, and all over the newspapers. Anyway, this is politics. The cinema. Prabhupada gives one reason for the downfall of India, the cinema. And now he didn't say the TV, because in those days it was only Doordarshan. I can't remember. They're cutting up profile. They saw it on TV and they're leaning on their back like this. Everything they're taking from the TV. Someone was telling me that, you see, they're showing on the TV that boys and girls, they mix up, and as if it's completely normal. And now he was telling me a few years ago, it wasn't normal. Now it's completely normal. Otherwise, you see, just like, not just here, this is the university area, but practically anywhere in India now, young boys and girls, they'll mix up and talk and so many things. But 10 years ago even, in most of India, that was completely taboo. Boys and girls, they can't just mix up on the street and talk and laugh and joke. But they saw on TV, so they're doing. They've become degraded. And another reason, which comes also to your question, India should have distributed spiritual knowledge. because they did not spread the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have become overwhelmed by Maya. Maya is attacking. So the best means of defense is attack. Attack back. Someone was asking me recently, I was in Bangalore, and some of the Madhva Swamis, actually they're not Swami, Pandits. So they were asking that, well, what do you say, there's, when you're the 5th canto of Bhagavatam and all these descriptions of the universe, and how do you reply when people say that that's not very scientific? That we attack back. We say, just like Prabhupada was saying, that your science is all useless. We don't say, well, in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, okay, let's go past that quickly and, just forget that's there. No. Prabhupada, so many times they didn't ask him, Prabhupada would say, yes, you do not know science, the moon is further away than the sun. What is the evidence? The evidence is, it's in the Bhagavatam. That is the evidence. And Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Ravi, Sham, Mangal, every language of the world, it's like that. So that's also evidence. This is every planet. You see, according to the modern scientists, the closest planet is Venus. Isn't it? No, it can't be Venus. Mercury. Venus is further, way out there. So, that we have also. But we put the sun first, then the moon, and then... No, that's Mangal. What's Mangal in English? Mars. Okay. So, everything is in order except the moon. That's the only one out of order. According to them. But Prabhupada said, actually this is the correct order. And he would say in song, he would attack their science, that you don't know, you're changing your opinion all the time. You're saying in future we will create life. Prabhupada said we should hold conferences all over the world attacking the scientists on 2 points. Number one, you didn't go to the moon, which by the way, surveys yet again in America have shown that most people don't believe they went to the moon. In India they believe, but in America they don't believe. Because Indians, they're better Americans than the Americans. Uncle Sam ki jai. And then the other point Prabhupada said is that the other point you should challenge, that the chicken is a better scientist than you. Give the chicken a Nobel Prize. Because you're saying that we shall create life in future, but the chicken is laying an egg every day. He's creating life. She. So India should have distributed this knowledge. If we say these things in India, people can't believe. How can you speak against science? Science. People get very upset. You're speaking against science. In the Western countries, if you say these things, and most people, apart from a few scientists who have to make their living by bluffing people, they'll agree, yeah, science is cheating. Sure, it's cheating. Everything's cheating. The whole society is cheating. People don't become shocked. Yeah, science is cheating. Yeah, sure. You don't have to convince them. They know. So how to establish this Indian culture? Chant Hare Krishna. It's impossible, actually, to establish now Vedic culture. But by chanting Hare Krishna, by what is impossible can become possible. Otherwise it's impossible. But it's also impossible, you see, we have mleccha, coming from mleccha countries. And in India also everyone's mleccha nowadays. Means those who don't follow the Vedic regulations. They may be very proud. I'm a Brahmana. They're also mlechas. Brahmana name on. But we're chanting Hare Krishna. We're following these things. We're trying to follow. So everything is possible by the chanting of Hare Krishna, by the sincere desire of the pure devotees. So all these things can be established by the power of bhakti. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Who protects dharma is protected by dharma. So by bhakti, we can bring in all these things, and all this culture is only meant for protecting dharma. All this Indian culture, if at the end you become a Mayavadi, it's all useless. That's described. Once Prabhupada was discussing, he was in Germany, he had a long discussion in Sanskrit with a German professor. And one of Prabhupada's disciples there, he couldn't understand anything. And at the end, the German professor, who was a Sanskrit scholar, could speak fluent Sanskrit. At the end, he said to Prabhupada in English, he said, "So, what you're telling me is that all my learning then is useless unless I accept Krishna." Prabhupada said, "Yes." So, this culture is meant, if we follow this culture, that will help us. Will help us. That is meant for nourishing bhakti and for protecting bhakti. If you have the habit, if you're brought up from childhood to rise early in the morning, take bath, if you're trained to respect sadhus and respect deities, then your culture becomes very deep. So if we adopt that, culture doesn't just mean, in the Western countries they think culture means to use a knife and fork when you're eating. And don't put your elbows on the table while you're eating roast beef. And when you're drinking soup, you see, beef soup, it's in the dish, you have to tilt it away from you. It's very important. If you tilt it towards you, that means you're not cultured. So these stupid rules they made up, which has no meaning whatsoever. But Vedic culture, that is connected to Atma Dharma, Jaiva Dharma. So what Vedic, you see, basically there are Vaishnavas and Smartas. Vaishnavas means they follow everything for the pleasure of Krishna. And Smarta, they're just following for different materialistic motives. So they're following for a materialistic motive, but they're materialists. But anyway, if they get that culture, that can help them to be gradually elevated. But if you just make up some rules that is cultured to tip the soup bowl away from you, and then stick the spoon in like that, and then drink, oh, wait a minute, you're not supposed to slurp, sorry. You shouldn't make any noise when you eat. So it has no connection with reality, it has no connection with the Atma, it's just some made up thing. So Vedic culture, that is to gradually bring us to Atma Dharma. So that is valuable. We should introduce this. But then you have to know what it is. You have to know, for instance, don't put your hand in your mouth if there's no particular reason to do so. And the only reason to do so is if you're eating, or you have the datam like this. Then when you're finished eating, you have to wash your hands and feet and mouth and all these things. And do achaman. That's, if you want to be very paka, all these things. So we have to know these things. If we don't know, then actually we are liable to make offenses. That's why a Brahmin is supposed to worship the deity. Why? Because he's supposed to be trained in all these things. If he puts his hand in his mouth and goes on the altar and touches the deity, it's a great offense. But everyone should know this, because you're putting your hand in your mouth, and then you're picking up Bhagavad Gita, it's an offense. Because your hand is contaminated. Or you're opening the door, and then you contaminate the door, and then someone else comes. Like that. That's why the Brahmins, they didn't mix up with others. People were considered untouchable because they had unclean habits. Why? Because the Brahmin had to worship the deity. So he has to remain clean. You can't just pass stool and then go on the altar. You have to take a bath. You have to be very clean. But people don't know these things. Praviting cha nivriting cha janana vidurasuraha. What is to be done, what is not to be done, people don't know. They're not trained, they don't have any culture. So you have to learn these things also. So we'll finish now. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening so patiently.